Okay. Let's start today's class about the system analysis and design. So right now we talk about the approach to those system development. So in our Tuesday lab, I just take out certain three of them. So for today's we will discuss more details and then know all those the life cycles and those methodologies, models to the techniques used also agile development and unify the process or extreme programming. So all this. So you need to know be able to compare the underlying assumption and use of the predictive and adaptive system development life cycle. We say the SDLC. And also you able to tell like what makes up the system development methodologies. Okay, so those models, tools, techniques, and the key feature of agile development, and understand those and how to describe those key features of the unified process. Okay. So far in the chapter 1, we demonstrate everything necessary for the system development project. Okay, so how to get the requirement. And then later we just focus on the activity, some tasks, and then design. Then right now we need to focus on, okay, how the SDLC going to be worked. So let's move on. There will be two general approach to the SDLC. So the one's called the predictive approach. So the predictive will be the waterfall model. So if you remember on the Tuesday, we talked about the waterfall step by step, and I can show you. Yeah, after we finish, then I can show you the waterfall one more time. And for assuming the project can be like planned in advance, and then the information system can be developed according to the plan, and the requirements are well understood and or like the low technical risk, then we can apply this one. For the adaptive approach, so with the iterative model, so we can assume the project must be more flexible. So if we discuss taking an example, like we are transit from the waterfall to the adaptive, like for DevOps. So it can be, so we are adapt to the change need to needs for the project progress. So the requirements and the needs, they're uncertain or like high technical risk, then we need to apply in this method. Okay. So when we consider the SDLC, the system development life cycle, so most of the projects focus on like continuum between the predictive and adaptive. Okay, so we need to think which side. So can we predict all those requirements and the function? So are they all well defined? If yes, then we can just taking this one called a waterfall. So we predictive SDLC, but we say no. We lots of things that are uncertain. It may change. It may be changed like based on your customers' needs, or your maybe your vendor other like stakeholders needs. Then you maybe need to change it, or the tech. Or maybe there we have a higher technical risk, like maybe you need to modify function, you keep changing. Then maybe you will apply adaptive, like iterative. Okay. So in a traditional predictive SDLC, so it's a pretty earliest approach based on the engineering. So we have a sequential phases. So sequential phases is more important. So we will like divide them into like related to groups like development activities such as planning, analysis, design, implementation, and deployment. Waterfall is a like good model to showing the predictive. So we assume all the phases can be complete sequentially and no overlap or interaction. Okay. So once one phase is complete, so you fall over the waterfall to the next phase. So not we are not going back. Okay. If you remember, sometimes we talk about the like organization culture, about the style, because we are following the plan. So we following the model to work. So based on this model, we have the flow. So we need to like, okay, if we need to work on the development, those activities, like maybe we start with the planning, then we just focus on planning. But of course, can it be flexible? If you want to be more flexible, then you are not applying the predictive SDLC, but you are using the maybe iterator or DevOps, right? That means like we need to have a really have a flow for the company. So if we apply this one, so we start with the project initialized, then we start to plan it, analysis, design, and after we complete the design, then we start the implementation, deployment, and then the support. That means the maintenance. Here we see maybe slightly not exactly the same. So I open right here. So the terms, like we say the requirements or planning, so it would be pretty similar, but just the terms not exactly the same. So once we initialize it, we try to get the requirements, so it will match with the planning and analysis. Here the design, and then mainly the implementation. So we have the deployment. For the details, we have the verification, and then support will be the maintenance. Okay, we do have different terms, but the key concept is when we apply those phases, then we just like waterfall sequentially. Okay, so one by one. So once we start initialize our project, then we start the planning. We're not going back, and so we start the planning, get some specification. Once they frozen, okay. So we are not going back to planning anymore. Once we move on the analysis, so we are not going back. Okay, and then next we go to analysis. So finish analysis, then we will, based on the requirements, we have all those like design, like the use case, ER diagram, class diagram, and the flow. So all these, once we confirm the design, we will move on to the implementation. So we will frozen the design specification. Okay. So if during the implementation, if you have some questions, I mean, you may keep a note, but we are not going back to design anymore. So here's also important part. And then once we like finish the implementation, then we will to deploy our system. That means release it, deliver. Okay, as I specified. Okay. Okay, then usually for the waterfall, it may be not really flexible, or like, because nowadays like we introduce different type of models for the SDLC. Then they will say, okay, how about, is it possible we can modify the waterfall with the like some overlapping phases? It would be more flexible. So the more flexibility, but we still try to assume some predictive planning as sequential phase. We do allow maybe we start the planning, then we can have some like analysis, start the task. So some decision points and completion of major components of project that occur, then we can start the analysis. Okay. But of course, we can keep on doing some planning. So by this, maybe we are two different teams, or like we have different members like working on the planning and analysis. Then we can do it like that. And then when we doing analysis, we finish some certain like complete the important components or functions. If we finish, then we can move on to design. But for some additional analysis tasks need to keep going on, then yes. Then once you complete, you can pass to the design team, or like to move on to another phase is design. Okay. Then you can start the implementation. The key concept is like, at least we cannot say, okay, we working on certain functions implementation, then we go back to design again to decide the function. But we are just like to pushing those completed design to implementation. And then those implementation, is it possible to like start the deployment? So if those functions are available, then we can let it launch it first. But you can say, okay, I have a application, I only create the login page and then we just deploy it. That is impossible. But at least you have like certain function, key function, they are already good enough to deploy and let the user to use it, then you can start the deploy process. And for the rest, then you can keep on working on it and then add on it. Okay. And then later we will introduce the different to the newer adaptive SDLC. So it will emerge like in the response to increasingly the complex requirement and some uncertain technological environments. So we always need to increase the iterations and some of the design or implementation. And it's done from the beginning. So many developers claim it's the only way to develop the information system. Okay, so it's very better. And then many like IS information system manager are still like step like due to the apparent lack of overall plan, but it's still possible. So we have the called the incremental development for the adaptive approach. So we need to compete like some portion of the system in a small increments and integrate as a project progress. So we will say it's a growing system. Okay. So we have kind of called a walking skeleton. So the complete system structure is built first, but with that bare bone functionality. Okay. So at least those functions, we say the skeleton, that means the backbones or the support the whole systems should be let it like work first. Then we let it execute running, and then we can add the like maybe your anything on top, like organs, your skin, all those things. Okay. So a generic like adaptive approach, we have 6 courses go across iteration. So probably multiple iterations also as a required. So we need to identify the problem, obtain the approval. So we will overlap all this process. That is the same if you remember the tables right here. Start with the beginning, so it's run, and then when you're planning monitor a project, so maybe the workload goes slightly less. And when we move on, discover, understood the details, we'll move on the second. And the design system components, then we'll move to the third iteration, the third one. But we are still working on the discover, understood the details. So you see, some of them move on, and we still some work to doing, and then we start to build, test, and to integrate the system components. So we will move on like almost the fourth. So we will have fourth right here, but it doesn't mean maybe we have some new problem and then new approval. So if we during the implementation, building, testing, if we discover some new problems or we want to like implement certain solution, then we need to obtain the approval. And we can start the planning. So the workload getting less, but it means that it is not yet done. So after we complete the whole system test and deployment, suppose maybe you don't have any new problem, new planning. So mainly we were working on the design components, maybe some functions you confirm that, then we still design on it, and then we still are building on it. But most of them we will try to release it and then start the maintenance. For the methodology, so we try to provide a guideline for every phase of the system development. So like what to do, about like when, why, and how, and then we need to specify all those information, including the SDLC, with the activities and tasks, the project planning, project management models and reporting, and we try to analyze and decide the models to create. And also the implementations and testing techniques, and the deployment and supporting techniques, all this. So all the terms we're using called the system development process. That's what we're doing. So the methodology, so what will be included? So if I ask you what's the methodology, so it's including model, tools, and then the techniques. So it's a collection of them, 3 of them to combine together, modeling all aspects of the project. Okay. When we talk about, okay, so all the collection, so one of it is the model, so it will be the abstract of an important aspect of the rural. Okay, so makes it possible to understand a complex concept by the focusing only the relevant part, and each model shows a different aspect of the concept and the crucial of the communication project information right here. So for the information system, there are some models are the system component that will be developed, and also some other models are used to manage the development process. So model you can see right here maybe for talking about some abstract, like for the situation. Also, some model we are using to manage the development process too. So it will be possible. So maybe the model using the use case diagram, domain model class diagram, design class diagram, sequence diagram, package diagram, screen design template, dialog design, storyboard, ER diagram, database schema. For your project or what you need to study, we use the common, maybe the use diagram, the class diagram. The domain model we will modify a little bit, and then the sequence like with the flow, and then you need to have the ER diagram and tell that like database schema. Those are what you need to include it for your project. And in the project, you need to like part of it staying which like maybe based on the topic, you may think in your startup or modify them, which type of development cycle you are going to apply. Okay, and some model using for the development process like the Gantt chart, like some organizational hierarchy chart, or the financial analysis model and system development lifecycle model. We're applying stakeholder list, the iteration pair. So all these will be using for the development, but not for the system. Okay, so we have two parts. So we need to know for the models are not all for the system, but also for the development process. Okay. And then next we be about the tool you can use, like the software application, and assist the developers in create models or other component required for the project. So we have the IDE, you have like integrated development environment. So they're set up to like working together to provide a comprehensive development environment. So also we have the visual modeling tools to create the graphic models. So common like we have some project management, something called the Trello, and that one's we can use. So we can like join some like graphic application. You're welcome to use the like draw, can be join the graphic, the word processing, and right now we have the like UI, the layout system. So for design, then you can use like called InDesign or Figma. You can feel free to use it. So we have the integrated development environment IDE. We have the database management application. So I'm using MySQL, using Oracle, or MongoDB like for NoSQL. So we also have reverse engineering tool or like code generator tool. So all these will be the applications. Then the techniques like the connection of a guideline to help the analysis complete an activity or task. So right now you are learning all those techniques. So how can we doing the strategy planning, doing the project management skills, user interviews techniques? So are you using questionnaire, using some interactive way, and then data modeling, and then the relational database design technique? So how can we do like get the based on the need, then how can we apply the first normal form, second normal form, third normal form? Okay, and then create a relation. So when we have many to many, how can we change them to one to many? Table create like transitioning table. So all this, and then software testing technique. In other class, like maybe later I will tell you how can you like test your software. For sometimes we can write a script to testing your expected result to match it. So if you didn't receive the expected result, then that means you have maybe some logical error or some implementation like missing certain function. Also domain or use case. So the object-oriented programming techniques. Are you most time we say like Java all time. Maybe nowadays if you learn in Node.js, and also you can apply, we call the one called TypeScript. So that one also we can apply the object oriented. Actually, Node.js also you can apply the idea of object oriented. So depends on which language we can apply those techniques. Okay, and then we have architectural design and then the UI design techniques. Maybe because the color flow and then checking using some tools, and then we can know, okay, how can we apply those not theory to design interface. Then we have the development. So guiding the philosophy is a set of guidelines for developing the information system in an unknown and rapid change environment, chaotic. So it's a term of like adaptive project, chaotic yet ordered. So like this. So this one is the agile values in the manufacturer, like for the agile software development. So right here we need to know that the value, like responding to the change of following a plan, and then the individual interaction of a process, and then we working software over like comprehensive documentation, and then the customer collaboration of a contract negotiation. All these we included. So right here in the model, we call it agile modeling. So the AM, we have 12 principles. Okay. Maybe you need to have ideas, some like 1 or 2, at least, like how to like minimize the modeling. So the software is your primary goal. Next effort is your second goal, or like embrace the change or change incrementally, and model with purpose, like build multiple models. So all these. So at least you have one example, you will know. And for this principle, when we try to develop, so we try to like as a primary goal, right? So do not get distracted by the documentation or models. So mainly we need to develop the software. Next, enable the next effort as a second goal. So be our like next step version or revision. For the software development, but not only applying for this one, but for the program to always to build the software and then always like move on first step. Once you build something, then you can try to keep on study and try to make a better version. So that's why you see lots of updates with version 1, and then minor version update will be version 1.01, 02, and then some slightly bigger will be 01.1. And then if you really have a huge change, then it will become a version 2. Then you can change. Okay. And try to minimize your modeling activity. So those will be only build what helps move the project forward. Okay. So we can try to minimize it and then embrace the change and change incrementally. Always try to take a small step and keep you on track that like can be reversed if necessary. That's going to do. And then the models with purpose. So model you need to like to understand, and also the model is used for like communication. So when you create a model, so how can you showing the model better? Like it's easy to understand and help you to communicate with your teammates, stakeholder, all this. And then when you need to build the multiple models. So look at the problems from different perspective. Then by those model. Then we try to build a high quality models and get the feedbacks, and we can focus on content rather than like representation. So informal like hand drawing photo are sometimes okay, and always focus on the stakeholders' needs. So this one is, and then for the LG principle, so we learn from each others with open communication, and then know your model and how to use them, adapt the specific project needs, and then maximize the stakeholder RMI. So this one in DF. And then unify the process. So unify the process was like the early leaders in the adaptive approach. The unify process, or the UML, the unified modeling language. So we developed together. So for the process, the phases including like they organize the integration into 4 primary area focus during the project. So you need to remember what's the unified process. So we have like inception phase, just like getting started, and then elaboration. So we need to understand the system requirements. So sometimes like collecting the requirements. And then construction, that means similar to the implementation. So we try to build system and transitions. So we prepare for and move on to deploy the next new system. Okay, so here would be the mainly 4 phases. Okay, so right here, so it will the UPS DLC will divide it into like 4 phases right here: inceptions, and then into like elaboration, and then construction and transition. Okay, complete. Okay, with different phase. You can create different phase for construction. Integration. So the objective we trying to do to just develop an approximate version of the system, and then make the business like case, define the scope, put to the rough like estimate cost or the schedule. And in the elaboration phase, then we try to define the visions, like what's the describe all the requirements and finalize the scope, design, implement the core architecture functions, and then try to resolve some of the high risk and put the realistic estimation cost and schedule right here. And then after we confirm all these requirements, and we can move on to the implementing those low risk function, predictable or easy element, and prepare for the deployment. And then finally, after we complete the beta test, then we can deploy it so the user can have a working system they're able to use. Okay. For us to using the UP, we have some like disciplines. So we accept of like functionality like we to the development activities. So each discipline are all the activity related to the achieving the one objective in the development project. Okay, so we have 2 disciplines. So one is the development, one is for the management. Okay, planning and control. For the development, so discipline including the business modeling, requirements, design, implementation, testing, and deployment. Okay, so this one is the development. So we have lots of keywords, then you need to like have like don't confuse with them, and then make here. So business model, requirements, design, implementation, testing, and deployment. And then for planning controls, so it will be another one right here, management. So we configuration, change the environment, project management about the environment right here. So for the disciplines right here, they use across all the integration. So the UP discipline, we have the business modeling, requirement, design, implement, testing, deployment, configuration, project. Like right here, we have different time. And maybe right here, like for the 4 weeks, the include work, most of disciplines. So they will end then with a stable execution. So right here you see for the project management, we're taking part of it. So some business models, including like requirements, but also have some design, implementation, testing activity. It will taking occur. And then we move like almost the last so for periods the iteration 5, so involve the minimal modeling and requirement, and maybe some design gonna happen, and then most of like implementation. So implementation taking large, and many more like testing activity it goes up. So we'll be right here. Okay. And then we have a called the extreme programming, so XP. So we try to like take the best practice of software development and extend it to the extreme. So focus intensively like on both industry practice and combine them in a unique way to get a better result. So for the XP, the extreme programming, we try to have some core value, including communication, simplicities, feedback, and courage. Okay. For the practice, we have the same like planning, testing, pair programming, simple design, refactoring, and here planning will based on the user story, and then testing every steps. Pair programming we watch, inspect, and trade off, and then simple design energy modeling principle. And then we do it, clean up as you go, and then owning the code correctly. So you go lead like the development, anyone can review and improve the code. So it's the extreme. And then if we know the one we have CI, the continuous the integration, CI/CD, so the continuous integration, so go for the software continuously. And then on-site customer will get side off like as you go. We have system metaphor. We know that what a final system look like, and then we have provide some small release the turnover to the user like frequently. So release it, and then 40 hours per week. So don't overload the developer coding standard. So follow the standards for the code. So here will be the core values. You see, we have the core value, try to make the communication, feedback, and courage and simplicity. So we try to provide different type like planning, pair programming. So if I'm asking what's the one of the example practice, you can able to tell, maybe you can pick the ones that contributes the integration on site customer or like planning, testing. Okay, like this. For the approach, using the XP for the project, so we have like the outside ring, so we can create a user story and define the acceptance test. Middle ring will conduct a test and do the overall planning. Inside ring with the integration of coding and testing. So we have 3 rings right here from the start, and then goes to middle, and then in the inside. So outside create the story. So in conceptual, I help you to understand. So if you want to understand like how the things like, we always need to get the requirements design. So always start from the beginning, outermost first. If we're ready, so abstract test, we need planning. If we confirm, we move onto like for the planning, integration, metering, conduct the test, do all the planning. Inside we will integration like code and testing. So right here. So here's a 3 ring and this one. So we will combination of principle like Ruby and also the Edge. So we will intense like effort involve the entire team for the define a period of time. Okay. The product backlog, like product list of user requirements, product owner, and the client stakeholder who control the blog as one master. So we have project master and manager. So we have a spirit. So this is a spirit we're telling a time control. So it's like the spirit is like it's basically a time control mini project to implement part of the system. So we have the product owner itself like product backlogs right here. So many. So when we have the planning meeting, okay, go through, and then we have the teams, we have master leader, and then we have the sprint and backlog. So we break down of them, and then we have the daily scrum, and then we are working on it, and then incremental software we will implement, produce. Maybe we'll go back to the planning. Okay. So here the sprint. In those company, so we have the sprint using for companies, so meeting and then breakdown. So scope of is the sprint is frozen. So that can be that we just if necessary. So the time period also they keep constant. So always keep constant. So we have the daily meeting. So they will like done since the last one or like last 24 hours. What will you do by next one, the daily? In some company we have called the weekly power meeting. So we do something pretty similar. So we report after you pick up some story, that means the task you want to do, and then you can report like what do you do, and then what are you going to do next. So you can just like keep checking. So keep knowing from completing your work. So okay. So far will be this part. So we try to quickly cover all the systems development lifecycle SDLC. Those you will apply say like predictive and then adaptive. Okay, so the predictive we know that something more happen, and then based on this for the pretty old algorithm or like for the lecture we didn't really talk about the DevOps, because this one is more like for the startup like nowadays for a tech company. So okay, predictive you need to know the waterfall models. So we need to use like when we plan the project, we need like completely in advance like possible to complete. For adaptive, we need to use the intuition. So it's used when the requirements is less certain. So this is how it looks like. And all the new system development, we use the methodology or we call the process, right? So they're available. So the methodology include the SDLC and then tooth techniques and models. And if you need to remember three things, like to remember one of the example was the tooth and then technique and models. And then agile development is right now, they say the new trend, but right now it's not really, but pretty long time ago. But nowadays we are more maybe DevOps. Okay. But of course, for certain industry business, then they will still keep using this, like, but this one still is a popular way using. Okay. And then the UP, the unified process. So it's a formal interactive approach to using the UML. Okay. So, and then we need to follow the disciplines, and then the extreme programming XP. So it is the interactive approach and take a good practice to the extreme. So we say, and then the Scrum is the iterative approach using the Scrum sprint. So far will be for today's the system design, the approach. So so, and just like slight recap. So right here you say waterfall, and then with LG and spectral and DevOps. So well, I would like to let you to understand more, because if you want to fit to nowadays working cycle, it's like better to know the DevOps, this one. So it is most of nowadays that we call that the CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery. So maybe we have some question about this one. Okay, so that's need to remember. Do you have any questions about the lecture? If no, then will be that's it for today. And happy Halloween. And no question, you feel free to leave.
Happy
And
Halloween.
okay, happy Halloween. Thank you.